seconds for you, Jason, maybe 20.
Okay, I'm still showing. Oh, wait, there we go. Hey, there we are.
There it is. All right. the mistitled Mass Combat GM Tricks of the Trade.
Part 2.
Part 2. All right, Chuck, are we live? Let's do a test for Jason. Can you hear Jason?
Can I hear? Yes, I can hear.
I was checking to see if Chuck, I can hear you, so I'm sure they can, but, all right.
It's really bizarre seeing my face completely off sound sync from what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, I have to set it up so I'm only looking at the OBS software, which is live. But if I'm looking at Twitch, it's, what, a 5-second delay or something? It's really, I can't do it. My brain can't do it. All right, so we got a bot. Hey, Melkor, how's it going? Hey, can you give us a sound? Can you hear Jason, Melkor? Say something, Jason.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me over there?
𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐤 is hosting. All right, Chuck is talking to me. All right, we can hear. Everyone is hearable. Jason is. So Chuck and Davis, they Skype. How's it going, 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐤? They Skype the exact same way. They say one word in the sentence. It comes like 65 text. Jason is kind of blurry audio-wise. Hush, Steve. I'm not supposed to read these out loud. I keep forgetting to do that. Yeah, Davis will text like 2 words, and then 4 words, then 3, then 2, then 4. And if you're trying to do something, you know, the Skype will go beep, 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 beep. I just
have a friend who does it. Every sentence is a separate text.
I know, it's insane. Of course, in his defense, if you write me, as you know, if you write me a long paragraph, I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to skip to the end. So, nothing's good. How's it going, 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐤? I think I said that already. We have Jason 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐤 is joining us tonight. As those of you may or may not know, Jason is the author of Amazing Adventures and a host of other things. And in about 2 minutes, Jason, we're going to so this thing starts at 8. I usually let about 5 minutes pass, let everybody get here, and then you'll do an introduction and tell everybody 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐤 games, the whole thing, all of this stuff. Night shift, there you go.
Oh, thanks, 𝐓𝐵𝐤𝐤. Glad to hear it.
Did you get the PDF out the other day?
I did, yeah. It should be out to everybody. Well, unless anybody had a different DCRPG address, but I still have to download my reports for that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you'll have some that trickle in over time. It's one of those things. People like me who never check their email.
Yeah, we're gonna probably just miss the May release date because the printer's swamped with like yearbook orders.
Yeah.
So they're looking at June 10th as a ship date for it. So.
Yeah, they do. Starting in April and up through May, they're done. I mean, we've got 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐤 and 𝐘ELTARM we were going to send them, but I knew as soon as we had a cutoff date of March 8th, I think was the date. If we didn't get it in by the 8th, it's June before it's coming out. Normally they get them done in 3 weeks because that's what I got right here. That's what I got.
Oh!
Nice big old color book sitting here. Dude, have a question about it? DM me on Twitter. There you go. Soon, 𝐓𝐵𝐤𝐤, soon. We're wrestling with that now. I don't know what.
𝐓𝐵𝐤𝐤, is that Steve that DM you on Twitter?
That's for you, I think. He said it's fine. Did have a question about it, so I'm assuming that is you. I'm not gonna swear to it, but I'm assuming that is it. You use Twitter a lot. Now you're off Facebook, right? I mean, you're doing the group.
Yeah, by and large, I'm off of Facebook. I check groups occasionally, and I will go to like specific people's feeds to keep up, specific friends and stuff like that. I'm not really on Facebook anymore.
That's good. It's crazy. Facebook, they're all interesting. All the social media.
Cool is the word I use to describe
what?
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that people get so very they just get worked up, and they want, and especially like now in this time of this pandemic, there's so much information coming at us from so many directions, and none of us are particularly trained to process it. So we're trying to process it, figure out what's going on. It's just crazy. By the time
I was joking with my wife the other day that by the time this is over, I'm gonna have long hair again.
Yeah, I started to grow my beard, but that shit got too itchy, so I shaved that off. All right, John, if you braid your beard like a dwarf, I want to see a picture of it. That would be awesome. Poor old Tyler, he had a beard that could have done that. Third PP guidelines. Always something with you, Perry. We have
asking for a friend.
Yeah, yeah, he's the friend. He was wanting the writer guidelines, and we finally we had not updated those since like 2007 or 2008. It was ridiculous. So we got those we got those updated, and now we need to get the third-party publisher guidelines. I think they're pretty simple. I'm not the license. I know we got a license somewhere, but it's basically the CNC logo has to be put on the front. No pornography or adult content or crazy crap like gang rapes or whatever. None of that in the book.
What's the fun in that?
Yeah. Hey, we had one submitted, and she was very passionate about it, and I X'd it all out, all of it, and she was very upset. That's wrong to the story. Don't care. do not care one bit. Let's see, there are 4 third controllers. Good Lord. All right, we'll get it together. We'll try to get it together. I got to go see Tim, so we'll try to get it together this weekend. Third-party publisher. And it's really simple. It's just a very, very simple life. It's very open, if I recall. All right, so we're bleeding into getting there. Let's, I don't know. I don't think we have Tim. Tim, are you on board? I'm not sure if Tim's with us tonight. He's up in the mountains, and sometimes he's got internet, and sometimes he doesn't.
He heard I was going to be on, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't want to be there."
He said, "I'm out." Mic drop. He's fishing right now. Okay, Chuck's pushing social, so we're good. All right, so we are here for Jim's Tricks of the Trade, number 44, I think, is where we are, and we're doing a second part of Mass Combat. Jason Faye is joining us. He was a little confused by my misnomer. He thought it was combat between armies, but it'll all work out. Jason's been running games for 50 years, I don't know, however long. But
before I was born.
Not much longer.
No, it's really not much longer, no.
You'll be catching up before you know it. So, Jason, give a quick introduction to everybody who might not know you.
Everybody should know me. I'm world famous.
You are.
I am the staff writer for TROLLZAH. I'm the author and line developer for Amazing Adventures. I'm the 5th edition line developer, and I own my own company called 𝐓𝐫𝐢𝐜𝐤𝐬, and we're just in the process of releasing our latest game, which is called Night Shift Veterans of the Supernatural Wars.
Yeah, you just rolled that off to the PDF just went off to backers, didn't it?
Yes. Yeah. The official release will be sometime in June. I'm contemplating taking pre-orders to allow people to get early access to PDF.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good idea. And then, we've done that a few times on some of ours, and all we do is I let the Kickstarter backers know that theirs will ship before the pre-orders do. So it's just a hair Austin thing.
Right.
That way everybody who got in, because there's a lot of people, as you know, with our CNC Classic box set, there's a lot of people who just missed it. Despite all the noise we make, they missed the Kickstarters. Whatever. All these pandemics and tariff wars and everything else just keeps people busy, I guess. They can't focus on traveling per se.
People are very busy staying at home.
Exactly. Yeah, what a crazy time. Absolutely insane. All right, so we are not seeing Tim anywhere. I am assuming that Tim is gone, and Chuck will be running the show like usual. So Chuck is Babunski there, Jason, in case you don't know.
Yep.
He will keep us all apprised. We'll give it about one more minute, and then we're going to dive into tonight's Tricks of the Trade. Not much else going on over here. We're all adjusting. Someone made a comment about trolls not getting out and doing stuff. This really, the weird thing about it, and it's the same thing for you, Jason, we all work at home.
I think, Chuck.
You know, we all work at home, so nothing's changed. My life pattern, and you go out to restaurants more than I do, I think. You go out and drink beer, right?
Beer, mead. My wife and I are also kind of mall rats on weekends. So.
Yeah, so for me, I don't ever get out. I go to Purple Cow, get a bacon cheeseburger. Come home and eat the CCK art looks like, what is it, CKG maybe? Raven Shadows, is that what you're talking about? I do not have a copy of that, but it is, if that's what you're talking about, the Castle Keeper's Guide. Chuck, if you could put up a link to the Kickstarter for the Castle Keeper's Guide, you can go to it and scroll down just a smidgen, and you're going to see a wizard holding up a book with lightning bolts coming out of it in every which direction. And that, yeah, just follow that link there, Raven. And that's the new cover for the Castle Keeper's Guide. And again, I need to get this up, but it's part of a 4-panel piece. This Adventurer's Backpack, Player's Handbook, Castle Keeper's Guide, and Monsters and Treasures as one giant kind of wraparound picture. And the CKG is the wizard of the party holding his book up. It just worked too well when Peter drew that, and it had a wizard holding a book. I thought, well, that's perfect. That's the Castle Keeper's Guide right there. He's holding the CKG. It just worked out beautifully. All right, well, good deal, Raven. Check that out and let us know what you think. All right, so let's dive into this week's Tricks of the Trade before we get too wandering off. So last week we approached the subject of mass combat, and this is what I was joking about earlier with Jason. He thought I was actually talking about combat between armies, which is, I think, generally what mass combat refers to. And he had written, what book was it, Hallowed Oracle?
Within Hallowed Oracle, yeah, I wrote rules for narrative mass combat and how to run castle.
Yeah, and then he texted me about mass combat, and I said, yeah, that's fine. Just hook up with Chuck and Tim and figuring out how to make it do. And then he got Jim's Tricks of the Trade and realized it wasn't mass combat. It was, I don't know what you would describe this. Characters against masses of troops. Horde combat? A horde encounter? How's that?
Sure.
So we're going to go with horde encounter instead of mass combat. And that'll mess up Chuck's beautiful piece that he's done there with mass combat part 2. And Chuck, it did not escape me that one of your panels there has one of my favorite pictures from the TV show Vikings. I think number 3 is where you got that. Maybe 2. Good one. So in the first trick of the trade, we talk about, so essentially what we're talking about is having a small group, a party that's being attacked by a large group of orcs or goblins or hobgoblins or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And you're really trying to capture that feel of frenzied combat that you frequently see in the movies. I think in this week's newsletter, we sent a YouTube piece on Kingdom of Heaven, and if you haven't seen the movie, it's an absolutely fantastic movie. Definitely watch the extended version. But there's a scene towards the end where the Muslim armies and the Christian armies are fighting over this busted-up wall, and it's just crazy gruesome with people bashing each other with shields and helmets and swords and axes, and they're all pressed up against one another, and it's just mass chaos everywhere. And that's really what we're talking about with tonight's last week's and tonight's Jim's Tricks of the Trade. And let me do. I'll have to. That's not going to work. So we'll dive into. I can't remember what my 5 from last week were. It was pacing. I can't remember. And if I open it up, it'll cover you, Jason. It'll cover your side of the. Let me see if I can get that open. Yeah, see, there you went. You disappeared almost immediately. All right, let's see if I can find what we did. There's that. Do what?
Now I'm a deer. Oh, there I went again.
Are you back?
I'm back, yes.
All right, good to hear. Okay. So let me recap. I'm assuming that I'm still on there and it's not mine. Still not really sure how all this magic works, but so last week we talked about do a very, very little bit of prep and that was the first trick. So it's just really kind of writing down the monster's hit points and AC and rolling with that. Don't worry about names and all of that other gobbledygook. Send your horde at them in trickle. So start the combat out with 1 orc comes forward, then there's 2, then there's 3, then 1, then 2, and then 60. So you kind of whet their appetite to what's coming. The third trick was do everything fast. Try to talk fast, do the initiatives fast. Don't give them a lot of time to respond. Just make sure everything's moving as quickly as humanly possible. The fourth one was allow members of your horde to get wounded. So if they have, say, 6 hit points and they take 3, they fall out of the battle. They stagger back wounded for you to use later, and that just kind of adds to the chaos. And then the fifth one was spread the damage out. If the characters do like 8 points and there's 2 in front of them, have them kill one of them and wound the second one. That'll not only will that add to the chaos, but that'll get everybody's dander up in it'll just get them excited when you can kill more than one, simultaneously with one swing. That always makes people happy. It always makes players happy when their swings do better than they expect.
Yeah, I'm always big when I run battles like that in letting people roll for kills instead of necessarily damage. So, like, if your sword does a D8 damage and you're, in the middle of a swath of orcs, you're going to kill 1 D8 orcs on that hit.
Nice. Yeah, see, that adds to that chaos. That's very cool because then, and it's one of those things I think GMs frequently forget too often when we're adjudicating, we rule kind of against the players, right? Players push the bounds. They always want to do more than the spell can do or whatever it is. So it's very easy to get in that habit of constantly kind of trying to rein the game in, rein the rules in, or control this or control that. If you will do the opposite, like what you're talking about, actually give them as much as you take away, it makes it far more enjoyable. And when you take something away, when you rule against a player, they're far more likely to accept it because the last 2 times you ruled in their favor. And that's actually perfect because then you get to just slaughter a bunch of them at the same time. And that heightens that whole sense of danger and all that mess that comes with it. So the first trick of the trade tonight is use mechanics, and I do this. I've said this a dozen times, but my game of choice is Castles and Crusade. So it's very easy to do this with. You probably could do it with 5th edition, and Jason, you can actually correct me if I'm wrong. But so what I'm talking about with using mechanics is every round that's going on have something in the combat that gives them a minus, gives them a penalty. They slip in blood, they get a -1 from initiative. Sword gets stuck, in the rib cage of someone, they get a +2 damage as they're pulling it out. There's all kinds of things you can do. And if you have to make a little list of stuff that you want to do so. Otherwise, just kind of roll with it with your description. But constantly change up. Just give all kinds of bonuses, minuses, and it changes every round. So, they slip in the blood one round, but they don't slip in the blood the next round. Or someone else does. Or it happens to the orc and that type of stuff. So in CNC, it's crazy easy to do that. It's just attributes and then, penalties and bonuses on your swing and your damage.
Yeah, 5th edition is not quite as incremental as that. Usually you just either get advantage or disadvantage. It tries to cut down on the list of like situational incremental bonuses to make things just a little bit easier. But you could apply advantage and disadvantage to situations. You can also adjust armor class up and down. That's one thing I actually do in my games. I had in my Age of Conan game, it was actually a few months ago. They had gotten to the final fight, and it was a big cult leader who was performing a dark ritual, off on the other end of a cavern, and they were being attacked by zombies. And Archer asked if he could ignore the zombies and shoot at the cult leader. I couldn't think of any reason why he wouldn't, but I told him you're swamped by zombies. So if you do that, you're going to suffer attacks from zombies that you can't defend against.
That's perfect.
And he opted to take hits. He went down under a horde of zombies, but not before it took a lot of damage to the bad guy.
Well, that's cool, and see, it's that type of stuff. If you can be fluid in the combat round, that makes it more exciting because that AC that I guess you gave him less AC or the bonus goes to the zombies. The next round, that's not necessarily the case. That just goes away. And that's sort of what I'm talking about. If you slip in the blood once, you get a -1, but the next round, it's a whole new different round. And that way you avoid that crazy, and I think this is systemic through all role-playing games, that stacking issue where the clerics cast a bless spell, the bard cast, evoke whatever, and you got +2 armor class, +1 to hit, and then there's your BTH and your magic weapon. So you get players sitting there going 14 +1 +2 +3. It's exhausting.
And that's why this edition did away with that in favor of the advantage and disadvantage.
That kind of negates that whole thing.
Yeah, with advantage, basically you roll 2d20 and keep in the higher. If you have disadvantage, you roll 2d20 and keep the lower, and that's it.
So what happens if a cleric casts bless on you?
Bless, I think you roll a d4. When he casts the bless, you roll a d4, and you can add it to like any one check in the next however long. I don't know the exact mechanics of it, but
it's still kind of there with the
still kind of there, but it's limited in its application.
Yeah, now in Castles and Crusades, you can certainly get stacked without a doubt. There's a lot of players doing all kinds of stuff. And the nice thing about using mechanics in this way is you're not stacking. It doesn't carry over to the next round. It's just right now, while you're talking to that player, when they roll their d20 to hit, say add 1 to that because of X, and then they just add 1 to it and move on. It helps kind of build that chaos, which is part of what you want to achieve in doing these types of combats. You want to keep a good pace, and you want the players to feel a little bit frantic all the time, because that just adds to the whole thing. And if the mechanics change every round for every player, and sometimes nothing, you're not going to do any mechanic adjustments at all, right? But sometimes you do, and if that's changing all the time, it just kind of adds to that whole level of chaos, which is really what you just want to do. I've run about 4 or 5 of these, so crazy successful that everyone was jumping up and jumping around and all over, getting excited. And that's where you want to do it, and you can't do it if you're sitting there adding things up for 5 minutes. It just hit the wall. And so if you use mechanics, definitely use them quick. Throw them out there, take them away, and move on to the next round. All right, and moving on. Did you have anything you want to throw in there, Jason?
Not right now, no.
All right, so on to trick of the trade number 2. This is Chaos Reigns, and this is sort of what I'm talking about. You're going to use these mechanics to help the level of chaos, and you'll see what I'm talking about even more so as we get deeper into the tricks of the trade. I'm doing all these hand motions because I talk a lot with my hands, but nobody can see it. It's just, it looks like my shoulder just dancing around or something. But
I sit it a lot, so it just looks like my head's bouncing all over the screen.
Yeah, this is yeah. I'm gonna have to. What is that movie? The racer movie. Lord of mercy. Dang it! It's a comedy. Will Ferrell is the.
Oh, I was gonna say Cannonball Run.
No, it's I can't remember the name of this movie, but there's this great scene where he wins the NASCAR 500, whatever that thing is, and they're interviewing him, and he doesn't know what to do with his hands, so he goes, Talladega Nights, Effie knows.
Talladega Nights, yeah. Right.
Absolutely love that scene where he's going, what do I do with my hands? It's so funny. That's a great movie. Absolutely love it. All right, so on to trick of the trade number 2, so chaos. So really what you want to do to keep that frantic nature going in this combat is keep everybody jumping and everybody moving, and it's going to come in with descriptions, bodies pressing up against one another, what Jason was talking about earlier, a horde of zombies is pulling you down, you're stuck beneath them as you throw your last, shoot your last shot, crossbow, whatever it is that you're shooting. Whatever it is, you want to just bring that chaos to the table, and you want to describe the ground, the orcs around them, the armor, the clanging of metal on metal, things getting stuck in places when they hit. Even if they hit and they don't score damage to the orc, knock the orc's helmet off. Same thing goes if a player gets hit, it doesn't score any damage, but it breaks the inner strap of the shield. Anything like that cuts the backpack, it falls off. The whole 9 yards. So it's just kind of creating this sense of never-ending chaos. And you also want to describe it fluid. You want people moving to and fro, characters pushed up against one another. orcs, swarming around, trying to crawl over one another. Anything that you can do to kind of capture this idea that there's just utter and total chaos. I remember reading this book. I think it's called Zulu Dawn. It's one of the best books I've ever read on the colonial wars, the English colonial wars. And at the Battle of Isandlwana, it's described when these 8,000 to 10,000 Zulus overrun that English regiment. The regiment disintegrates, and of course the Zulus fought mostly naked. In fact, to Shaka Zulu's credit, he forced all of his legions to go barefoot. And for 3 to 4 months, it was a nightmare. But afterwards, they didn't need shoes anymore because their feet were so insanely tough. And the English, of course, were in their heavy wool red coats and jackets. And so the way the author described, do what?
And if anybody's wondering, this is where your mass combat comes into Amazing Adventures.
Yes, exactly. After that's the time frame. Absolutely. Well, the author describes these little points of red in the midst of all of these Zulu warriors being drug off and killed, as the regiment disintegrated. And it's a great scene, kind of when you imagine it in your head. The movie captures it quite a bit, and that's actually what you're trying to capture with this chaos. You want them to feel alone in the massive press of bodies that they can't get out of. And any descriptive text you can throw at them, any situational things you can throw at them, that don't necessarily do much. It's just kind of, bringing a level of realism to it that you definitely want to do.
Perry, no, this is not a Dr. Pepper. My drink of choice is Coke Zero. So I drink Diet Dr. Pepper because I'm a diabetic, so I have to avoid sugar, but Coke Zero is my general drink of choice. So
I think that's Tom Tullis's too, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Did they cancel Coke Zero or something?
No, they just rebranded it, and Tom threw a complete temper tantrum. So it tasted different, and all he did was really change the name.
Orange Coke Zero for the
Happy, that's what I'm drinking. There's vanilla orange Coke Zero right now.
There you go. See, people post all the time on my feed about various types of Dr. Pepper, but it's just Dr. Pepper. Though I do remember when they rebranded it back in, what was that, 82, 83? Because they used to have the circle, and then it was kind of...
Tom is a temper tantrum.
He is the living embodiment of one. Jason, that's Jennifer right there with Snow Quilter. Thanks for joining us, Jennifer. Water for the win. Yes, Perry. I drink a lot of water these days. And now that I started about a year and a half ago, and now that I drink water, if I don't drink a lot of water, I am thirsty constantly. Absolutely nothing can quench it. Not even cold milk, which I love. Put ice in your milk if you don't like it. All right, so GM's tricks of the trade. Chaos reigns, if that's what you want to do there. So wait a minute, we got to take a moment and look at this panel that Chuck put together. I don't recognize that image. Do you recognize it, Jason? I do not.
Oh, I can't even really see it. It's so small on my screen.
Yeah, it looks like demons or something.
It's hell.
Constant thirst is a symptom of diabetes. I think constant thirst is a symptom of I eat too much salty food. That's what it is.
It is actually a symptom of diabetes.
Yeah,
that was one of the symptoms I had before I was diagnosed.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all, but I know I eat a lot of salt. I just consume salt like nuts, like absolute nuts. Looks like fire to me. I think that's Tim. Trollzah Games may actually be Tim. That was provided by Red Dragon 64. So Red Dragon's one of our developers over on World Anvil, I believe, or Fantasy. No. What's the other one? Not Fantasy. Yeah, Fantasy Grounds. I'm telling you, dude. So when I started this business back in 2000, there was Fantasy Flight Games, and there was another one. F something. I don't know. But now fantasy. It's just too much. It's too much fantasy in the names of companies. Like, I can't take it. There should only be one. Just move on. It's just too much. Fantasy Games Unlimited. No, I don't think that was it. It was what did Jim Ward work for? Did he work for Fantasy Fantasy Flight. And there's another one. I can't remember what it was. Huge D20 publisher. Lasted about 3 years. What's the big board game company? Is that Fantasy Flight Games?
Yeah, that's Fantasy Flight.
Okay, they morphed. They're the ones I think that hired Jim. They morphed from RPGs into board games in 2004 or 5 or whatever. But there was another one out there. I can't remember what. Much too long ago. Too many pandemics between now and then. And there's only been one. which is one too many. All right, so let's roll into number 3. Fast Forward Entertainment, Rhino for the win. That's the one. And that's the one Jim Ward worked for, I think. I don't think it was Fantasy Flight. I think Fast Forward Entertainment is who Jim worked for. And they rolled an absolute ton of D20 material out. Good stuff, but it was part of that, I'm sure you remember it, Jason, that wave of D20 that came out.
Yep.
It's like 147 companies or some craziness. It was absolutely nuts. Oh, yeah, everybody, for those of you just joining us or who are here for the first time, if you have not, please give us a follow. We sure do appreciate it. Any and all support you can throw our way. We appreciate it. We will be here. We are here every Tuesday at 4 for Asking Me Anything, and then Thursday at 8 for Jim's Tricks of Trade, and Wednesdays at 1 for World Anvil. And I know that Chuck's running games on Saturday already, and we're going to keep building this channel, so please give us a follow and check that. Thanks for the follow, Green Lantern, a huge Green Lantern fan. He almost made it. Green Lantern was almost here. Excellent. All right, so let's roll into Trick of the Trade number 3. So this is my absolute favorite thing to do. That's a great picture, Chuck. Absolutely great picture. Fantastic. So this is literally one of the favorite things I do with table. And some of my players, they just won't take me up on it. Mac Golden does like crazy crackhead, but anything is a weapon. Well, if you've ever been in a fight, you know this already. Just whatever you can pick up can hurt somebody. Even if it's just, for a minute or so. Even if it breaks their concentration, you're golden. But in the course of the combat, when we're talking about what I was talking about in the previous one with chaos reigning and maybe knocking off a helmet or dropping a shield or knocking a dagger out of its scabbard, cutting a belt, or whatever it is, that can be picked up and used as a weapon. Now, it's not going to do a lot of damage. Finally watching a lot more Twitch. I think we all got more time at home, Green Lantern. Everybody's kind of sitting down and figuring this out, which is great. But, Troll Nerd Chat tomorrow at 7 p.m. on the Discord. But anyway, so anything can be used as a weapon. And when they pick up something like a helmet or whatever it is, it's not going to do much damage. Maybe 1 or 2 points, if even that. But the whole purpose of it is they drop their weapon or this has been knocked out of their hands or what have you. They pick something up and then just start slamming people with it. And the nice thing, there's 2 sides to the coin here. One, it adds to that chaos. It creates this idea that this is just a bloody fist fight as opposed to, 2 master swordsmen fighting it out to the end like you'll see in some of the movies. This is more just like down in the blood and the mud and fighting it out. If you saw that video that we posted in Jim's Tricks of Trade, you'll see what I'm talking about. And it certainly would be the way it is in any of these types of combat, because you're going to drop weapons, you're going to fall down, you're going to get pushed over.
A kobold and another kobold totally count.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the favorite things I have done in the past is had a giant pick up a dead orc and use that orc as a club, just pounding characters with it.
Just to dovetail on this too is the idea of not just anything as a weapon, but used environment. If you have a player that wants to grab a fistful of dirt and throw it into an opponent's face to blind them, go for it.
Yeah, that's perfect. And you're from up north, so you know what snow's like. If someone if they jam snow in your mouth, it's disconcerting for a moment because you can't breathe. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Especially if it's yellow snow.
That's even worse. But no, it's a great point. That's an absolutely great point because the environment and the environment's there, and it's right. You fall down, you come up with a hand of bloody mud, and you slap it in someone's face with pocket sand. Whatever it is that they can grab And now the thing is about this is kind of a hard thing for a lot of RPG players to get their head around. No one ever really thinks about it. They're looking at the damage and they're looking at the armor class bonuses and whatnot. So they're going to, if they drop their sword, they want to pull an axe out or what have you. So two sides to it to facilitate it a little bit better. I don't ever penalize them. So if they drop their sword, say round 1, and in round 2 they're trying to get a weapon, I will mention that you can just grab this shield or hand of dirt, whatever it is, with no penalty. You just normal initiative, pick it up and go. And that encourages them to just grab whatever, to throw the chair or smash the chair at them or whatever have you. And on the other side of that coin, you need to have the monsters doing it as well. Have the monster drop his weapon and then pick up something off of the ground, a stick, dirt, sword, axe, doesn't matter, whatever, helmet, and smash somebody with a kobold, pick up a kobold off the ground. I also think part of it is encouraging your players to be descriptive in what they're doing. Another example from my game that I run is that I have a barbarian. They were in a camp that was being assaulted, and one of the things that was assaulting them was a giant, basically a rock, a giant bird, and that was a vulture. And one of the characters hurled his longsword at it because he didn't have any other ranged attacks, and then he was without a longsword. When it came back around to him again, he decided he wanted to charge forward, grab a sword off of a fallen guard, and launch himself at the bird off of a catapult to make an attack. I was like, do it, go for it, it's a roll. That's amazing. So, well, it's funny, we laugh about that, but that's one of those instances where if it works, and it's not going to have a great chance of succeeding, and everyone knows that, right? You catapulted at the vultures, it's going to be tough. But if by chance they succeed, it makes one of those moments that everybody explodes off the table on. Yeah, and that certainly, you want to do that anytime that you can do that at the table. You definitely want to do it. So absolutely. In anything, and it's funny too, if this had happened before I sent out the Jim Tricks of Trade, I would have used it, but Davis Chenault co-wrote Castles and Crusades, worked at TLG, blah, blah, blah. He was talking to me this morning, and his sons, who can be some scrappers, they got into a fight this morning. And Wyatt, the smaller one, he scooped up a spoon. That's all he could get. But he stabbed his brother with his spoon or scraped him or something. So there was blood. And I was telling Davis, man, that would have been perfect for my GM Tricks of the Trade. But it's just kind of case in point. Anything works. What's that movie, The Bourne Identity? Doesn't he have like a pencil he'd kill somebody with or something?
I think he does in one of them, yeah.
It rolls up a paper. I don't know. They do that a lot in the martial arts movies, too. They'll roll up a paper and beat the crap out of somebody with it. Now, I will say this, and I pitch movies all the time. Atomic Blonde. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
Oh, my God, it's amazing.
Oh, my God, it's amazing. Love that movie. I've watched it like 5 times, and I rarely watch movies over and over again. But that scene when she's in the car, the first fight scene, and she takes her high-heeled shoe off and hits the guy in the throat with it. Absolutely fantastic scene, and that's a perfect example of what we're talking about.
There's actually a super long fight scene in that movie. It's like a 15-minute long fight scene in an apartment. It's just like one camera shot.
It's crazy.
Moving up. And that is a prime example of using the environment.
Yeah, yeah.
She used everything she can get her hands on.
With her and that dude, an oven, lamps, it's crazy. I played a DCNC game back in the fall. I had a long Italian hero sandwich in the club. There you go, Chuck. Sometimes you can distract the orc with an Italian hero sandwich. What is that misdirection? You just misdirect the orcs. Throw the sandwich, see what happens. Yeah, that movie.
That's the opposite of the old orc with the pie trick.
What?
You ever heard that one where you go into a room and there's an orc sitting at a table eating pie, and he invites you to have a piece of pie? That's like an old dungeon story, and then what do you do? And it can go any ways from there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, whatever works. I'm not sure that in the frenzy of a mass combat, a hero sandwich will do it, but that's up to your GM, right?
What is half sword and murder stroke?
What is that? Oh, how's it going? How's it going, Dark Light? So half sword and murder stroke. As he's explaining this, I'm going to guess that a half sword is a broken blade that you're just trying to just stab someone with the broken shards of, which we've done. I mean, I am a huge fan of equipment wastage, and I will frequently, if I roll a natural 20 against a character, instead of doing maximum damage or whatever it is, your crit hits, I'll destroy their sword, shield, armor, or something. They take no damage, but their equipment is annihilated. AC, of course, drops or what have you. I do that absolutely all the time. Half sword is using his sword with one hand on the blade. Oh, interesting. I would definitely let them do it, but they'd probably take, depending on the blade, 1, maybe 2 damage around each time that they're kind of holding it, as it cuts into their flesh. Shortening the length of the blade for close combat and allowing easier blocks of heavier weapons. Interesting. That's actually a perfect example of what to allow at the table. Because if I was sitting at the table and Dark Light said that's what I'm trying to do, and explained to me the physics that he's getting a better, he can block easier and get a better stroke into it, I would give him bonuses for that, or minuses depending on however it goes. It doesn't cut you. Okay, so that's how you're using it. I would definitely allow that and definitely give bonuses, because that's what you're talking about, Jason, with characters describing what they're doing.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if, and this is the thing about this type of combat, and I don't want to overstate this because you don't want to get ridiculous with it, but the number of orcs that you're using, or goblins or whatever, it can be infinite. It doesn't. You want to cap it, of course. You don't want it to be infinite. That would be ridiculous. But you can, if they are cutting through too many too fast, just feed it a little bit. Add another 10 or 12 or something to it. And that type of stuff, Dark Light, is, as a GM, is stuff that gets me fired up. And this is what Jason was talking about. When the player's describing stuff, that actually feeds my fuel, and I will describe more and kind of react to that whole thing. I would definitely allow that, but I would give some bonuses in and around that, probably +1, something like that. See, and now we have learned what half sorting is. That's very cool. I did not know that. Interesting. Yeah, I would assume it was one of those where they catch the blade in the movies and they squeeze really hard and try to push it back, and that would sever tendons and muscles and all kinds of stuff. It would hurt really bad. All right, so let's roll into. Hey, Chuck, I got to ask Chuck a question. Jason, you have to take it over for a second.
I'm just going to sit here and stare at the camera.
I'll sing a song or something. I don't
I'm going to just refill my Coke here.
Well, do it with noise. Hold it up to the microphone. Okay, all right, good deal. Question answered at every turn. All right, so on to number 4. And this is actually, ironically, this is what I was talking about just a moment ago. Cue the elevator music yet. No. I don't think that was elevator music. I don't know what I just did, but it certainly wasn't elevator music. And so the next one is to destroy equipment. And I do this is what I was talking about earlier. I do this non-stop. I do it for 2 reasons. One, I do it to make combats like this more frantic and a little bit more realistic, but I also do it to absorb the gold that the players have accumulated, so they have to go buy new crap all the time. But in these combats, this gear, it's not built. It's built to survive somewhat, but not 6 weeks of an encounter every 2 days without repair. It's just going to disintegrate. And in the course of a frenzied combat like this, particularly if you've got anything with straps on, I know the bandolier of knives is one of the favorite things, the satchels and whatever have you. That stuff's going to get cut, damaged. Helmets are going to get dented. Shields are going to the straps are going to break because there's so much pressure going to and fro and all of this stuff. So I will do equipment wastage constantly. I do it. I'll do it on rolls, like if I roll a natural 20, like I mentioned earlier, and also just do it into the combat. And part of the reason I do it here is to make it more frantic. So if the helmet's knocked off, it's another thing on the ground. So I'll make a mental note that Davis's helmet was knocked off 2 rounds later when he steps backwards to fight off the orc. His footsteps in his own helmet, and he gets a -1 from his initiative as he's trying to adjust his setting or whatever. Or not even adjusting, just kind of reacting to the pain of the helmet. So destroying equipment, knocking it off, whatever you can do just adds to the chaos. And again, as with earlier, you've absolutely got to do the orcs as well. Your horde members also have to have equipment flying in every which direction, broken and chopped up, so that it just adds to that general craziness and chaos.
I'm actually bad about that. The only equipment destroying I usually do is if somebody rolls a natural 1, there's a chance of weapon breaking. So you can lose your sword or you can break your bow or something like that. But I'm actually really bad about like losing helmets, cutting satchels, stuff like that.
Yeah, I started when I was running. We had the big game we ran forever, but we'd take a break and we'd run all these low-level games over time. We'd spend a lot of them. And when you have 15 orcs and 3 characters or whatever, the chances of those characters surviving are slim if it's an open pitched battle. And early on, I began to realize that a cool way to kind of deflect the damage. If the orc does 8 points of damage, that kills the cleric. She's just dead, unless she's got a constitution. So have it smash into her shield and it breaks the shield and it falls to the ground. And again, it's one of those things. I know that it's difficult for GMs. I have the same issue. You kind of get a competitive thing and you want to make sure that it's done by the rule or whatever, but you really have to deviate somewhat. If you want the pacing and all of these things to kind of make the game more exciting and more invigorating, you kind of have to drop some of that and discard it. It's one of the reasons that I played AD&D, because it didn't give a lot of rules. I mean, there was some, but not much. And CNC picked that up, and I know there's a lot of game systems out there that do it. I know 5th Edition has been working hard to get in that arena. Sword and Wizardry does, that DCC does. And these are good games that you can do this stuff with. Adjust the rules as you need. Plethora of them. All right, as usual, we have rambled beyond. So I'm going to run into. This is the picture I was talking about. So this is GM Fix the Trade number 5, Crowd the Characters. And this is another favorite thing that I do. First off, I want to applaud Chuck. That picture is from season 4, I think, of the Vikings. And there's a lot of huge set-piece battles in that TV show, especially in the later seasons. If you have not seen it, absolutely go watch the Vikings. It is realistic. It's pretty. It's going to show you a different side to Vikings that you're not going to be accustomed to. Just really great TV show. Finally, back to Kickstarter. I've needed a new CK guide for a while. Well, thank you for the backing, Green Lantern. We surely do appreciate it. Go over there and give us a shout. Any questions, we'll be more involved with that Kickstarter this weekend and into next week, since we're through mostly the Egyptian thing that I've been wrestling with, and Amazing Adventures. I think we've got them all, Jason. I got to do the 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐤 cover and Rings of the Red God. Those are the all. I'm going to send you 7 covers soon, so we're done. Hopefully. Anyways, on to number. Yeah, Chuck, it's a fantastic thing. Yeah, if you can see it close up, it's even cooler, because you can see everybody's faces as they're trying to kill each other. So on trick number 5 here, what I do is I will have the press of bodies just washing up against the players, push the players up against one another. Now this just adds to the chaos as Davis's arm gets tangled in Jason's shield, and I think in the example I used, Davis is going to suffer a -1 from his swing, but Jason gets a +2 on his AC because Davis is blocking the orcs that are swinging in. And it just adds to that kind of never-ending flow of chaos, as now not only are the monsters interrupting what you're doing or hammering you away, and now the environment's doing it, and now the dead monsters are doing it, but now players are now interacting with each other in kind of not really a destructive. You don't want to penalize all the time. That you do a little bit of penalties and a little bit of bonuses, and mix it up, keep it constant, so that nobody's kind of stuck into one zone of this. Everything about this battle sucks. Everything goes on. I suffer a -2. You don't ever do that, because you'll demoralize your players, and then they'll start getting surly and throwing dice and shit at you. So you don't want to do that.
What I actually like to do is this is kind of the opposite of what you're talking about in some cases, but I like to give players specific objectives in the battle. So while the chaos of the battle is going on around you, one of the players notices a child that's about to go down under a press of orcs, and can you get there and rescue this child this round and get him out of harm's way, you know? Meanwhile, another player, you see this in, like, you think about Lord of the Rings in Return of the King when they're assaulting the gate of Mordor, and Aragorn ends up fighting the big troll because he's Aragorn and he needs and this is in the movies, obviously, not the book, but you can do that. Like, if you have your big fighter, have a troll show up in the middle of all these orcs and lumber towards the fighter to give each player a chance to do something that makes them shine in the middle of the battle. And then maybe if they succeed, their compatriots get like a +1 morale bonus.
Oh, that's good.
To their next round, you know.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And that type of stuff, if you have one character do X and everybody benefits from it, that's awesome, because then that encourages everybody to get even more enthusiastic into the battle and do their own thing so they too can impact the battle. It's kind of it's a big kind of tapestry that you're trying to weave here, and that's one of the reasons I talk about in last week. You got to do it fast. You can't let people think very long, because if they think, they're going to try to reason through, and you know, we all do it. You weigh your odds and you start balancing the book in your head to see whether you should do it or not. You don't want them to do that. And when they see things like a morale bonus come out of it for something someone else did, that's fantastic, because it just kind of encourages them to act, which is sometimes tough to do when the battle is really hard. It's tough to do. Let's see. Will there be a mass combat battles in the upcoming organized play? You should run one. So what we're trying to do, Green, is we're working really hard on getting me up to speed on Fantasy Grounds. I believe that is the tool of choice. I'd have to ask Chuck and Tim so that I can start running a bi-weekly or whatever as time permits game. And I'd love to. I'd love to get in. We got to kind of set it up. Part of my DMing thing, and my AD&D, that goes back to my AD&D days, my GMing or CKing or DMing, whatever it is. I really like to see the players, so the digital I ran a game in GaryCon where I didn't see anybody. It was just voice. We did it on Discord, I guess. So Tim's he's laid down a plan so that I can see all the players. If we can do that, then I'll be able to run it a little bit better, because I feed off of the energy of the other people at the table. Paper or pencil or nothing. Yes, exactly.
I'm right there with you, Happy.
Yeah, Jason's not real keen on any of this stuff. You'll get there, Jason. I'll have to say that the guys, the folks, Caroline, everybody over at GaryCon did a fantastic job putting that together in 10 days, and it went really well. And Chuck too. I don't want to cut Chuck out. He worked a lot with GaryCon and certainly got all of our panels up and games up. And it was kind of cool. I mean, it was nice that despite everything that is rolling around the globe and doing its dance of whatever, fuck it, we're in. We're still gaming. We're still doing the same thing, same panels, everything. It was very, very cool. And I cussed there. Like, I slipped right into it. I got to roll that stuff back. It is a little hard to get used to. There's no doubt about that, Green. It is. It takes a little bit. And Balfrin, I have heard the exact same thing, that Zoom is filled with tracking software. Don't know what that means, but I'm just old enough to not want the government to see me. I know the young people think I'm an idiot, but whatever. Yeah. Well, we try, Epi.
Everything's tracking software these days.
Oh, you can't get away from it. Except my books, they have nothing. All right, so we're going to move on as we're winding.
Paper and pencil does not have tracking software.
That is true. Yeah, you know, my wife uses a Kindle all the time. She loves that thing. And we lose the power at this house constantly. It's absolutely crazy. We're in the middle of Little Rock and we lose power all the time. It's just our little valley. It's not Little Rock. It's just this little valley because there's so many bloody trees outside. But I like to point out that when the power goes out, I can still read. She likes to point out that so can she, because she's got a battery on her Kindle. So she's a little bit smarter than me, but what can you do? Not just the young people think you are an idiot. That would be my wife right there. Bear JCC. I was just talking about you, Kathy. All right, so we are running out of time, so let me roll into the last one. And this one was really just an addendum to the whole thing. It's one of those things, and I know, Jason, you run into this. If you've GM'd anything for any long, you've got a bunch of monsters, and that stupid wizard comes out and casts Fireball, and everybody is suddenly dead. It's very frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. So when you're laying your combat out, and this really should have been the very first trick of the trade for this type of combat. When you're laying that out, you absolutely should take into the wizard, the cleric, or whatever spellcaster your game system has in it, and know what they can do. Just add a few more monsters to it. So you flesh that out. So when they annihilate it, and it's basically just wastage, you're just absorbing their fireball, so you can move on.
It's worse when you've completely forgotten that your wizard just hit 5th level, so he's going to have lightning bolt and fireball now.
Yep. And then, because, the thing that is so frustrating is great. I love those spells, and it's great for the player. And one of the things I really like about role-playing games is how hard it is for the wizardly classes to do anything until they're 5th level. And suddenly, they start ramping it up. And by the time they're 10th level, it's getting a little bit ridiculous. And my game that I run Thursday nights, they're 14th and 15th level. And that I still have not gotten my head around planning my encounters for Chris's wizard, because he is annihilating me constantly. It's really frustrating. So I'm just throwing in SRs now. I'm just wrapping up everything else with SR. Just so I got a magic resistance to it. But definitely factor spells in when you're setting this thing up. Don't overdo it, of course. The wizard needs his heroic moment as well. But definitely factor that in when you're laying out your entire encounter. That is the 5th or the 6th trick of the trade for the evening, and I think we are about ready to wind up. Once again, if you have not followed us, please do so. We sure appreciate it. Any support you can give us, and spread the word about the Troll Twitch channel. We're slowly ramping this up and getting more shows on here, and we will be. I've been given instructions. Okay, good deal. We will be, got it, Chuck. We will be doing more and more here. Hopefully, Chuck will be running games, and hopefully I'll be on here running games pretty soon, too. And someday, Jason, we'll get you to run some games online.
Not never. It will never happen.
Get off my virtual lawn. If you do need to say that. Get off my virtual lawn. At least need to bring that to the table. So, Jess, thanks for the follow. Thank you all for showing up tonight and spending this hour with us. We will be back next Tuesday at 4, and then Wednesday, that's for Ask Me Anything, and then Wednesday at 1 for World Anvil with Tim and Chuck, and then again next Thursday at 8 for another GM Tricks of the Trade. We're going to do a raid. I'm going to sign off very, very quickly here in just a moment as we do a raid into 𝐓𝐫𝐤𝐬's Discord or Twitch. Insanely fantastic cartographer. Head over there, check out her stuff. It is amazing. She's finished the 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝 piece for us. Have you seen that, Jason? Did I send that over to you?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, good Christmas. You'll love it. I'll send it to you. It is absolutely something else. And she does this. She's just got tons of this stuff. So here in a moment, Chuck's going to yell at me end stream, and I got to stop streaming. And then everyone will be switched over to Elise's stream and say hello to her and scream raid in the text thread there. It's coming soon. 𝐓𝐫𝐚𝐝 is in its final layout pieces, and then hopefully we'll be going to press in the next few weeks and rolling that out. Thank you, Puppet. I'm glad you enjoyed the show, and thanks, Jason, for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Next time we'll make sure that we're on the same sheet of music. We're talking about the same subject. That'll help a little bit. But it's all good. All right, so raid is coming very soon, I think. So I will be stopped streaming. So everybody, thanks again, and we will see you next week. Now I'm just waiting to be yelled at by Chuck. And